Okay, back in the office again, as usual, right on time. Whoa, clearing the doorway there. Wow, what was that? You know, can we just make this easier and install revolving doors in our workplaces here? Because Texans aren't ready to quit quitting just yet. In fact, the Texas Stampede has been growing. For many months during the pandemic, this state had the highest number of people quitting their jobs. Then last year, Texas and California traded the trophy back and forth over who was the quitting capital of the U.S. in any given month. But this year, 6 out of the 8 months for which we have data show that more workers here have been headed to the exits than in any other state. In just January through August, more than 3 million people in the Lone Star State gave their notice and left. That is almost equivalent to the populations of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin combined. Where are all those people going? Well, in most of those cases, they probably just headed to another job here. Texas has also been leading the country in the number of new hires. In the 8 months for which we have data this year, 4.6 million Texans got the job. That is close to the populations of Houston, San Antonio, and Fort Worth combined. So the workplace musical chairs continues, but why? For much of the pandemic, as we've talked about before, there was this huge gap between the raise that you could get by switching jobs versus staying at your current job. But data from ADP and from the Atlanta Fed show that the pay gap between switchers and stayers is now the narrowest it has been since the fall of 2020. So if it's not people jumping for higher pay, what is it? I'll leave that to employers to figure out. If you're a hiring manager, though, or if you're in HR, some sage advice recently posted by Jay Denton. He's the Chief Analytics Officer at Labor IQ, which is based here in Dallas. He's been here on Right on the Money with us before, in fact. He says the labor shortage is likely here to stay and that voluntary quits will remain elevated because the only way to fill open roles is by poaching them from another company. He closes with, businesses keep focusing on those retention efforts. So I'm thinking that maybe if you're negotiating right now, of course, focus on pay, but it might also be a good time to talk about those other perks that you can talk your boss into. Which, speaking of, my workday is now done, so I'm just gonna back out the door here this time, just in case we get another exodus. More info, as always, at Jason Wheeler TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads, where we work right on the money.